Good morning, everyone. This is Jason here. We will be starting the webinar in just a few minutes. Let me know where you're coming in from in the question and answer section. You should be able to post in there. Would love to see who's attending from around the country today. So far, I see from Alberta to New Brunswick. So that's awesome. I'm sure we'll have a few from BC shortly. I'm coming to you from Alberta, where it is 11:30 our time. Oh, there we've got somebody from BC. Hi, Lainey from West Kelowna. A few fellow Calgarians I see. Oh, now lots of BCers. Is that how you'd say it? I'm not sure. Not that you're waking up, but you're almost waking up. 10:30. I'm sure you've long been up. Okay, we'll start in just a couple minutes. All right. Well, welcome everyone. This is the introduction to ProTax T1, and today we'll be going through ProTax. Hopefully a lot of really awesome, useful information for you. Happy New Year. Welcome to 2023. I can't believe another tax season has opened already. Maybe it's just me getting older, but time definitely seems to be flying. Okay, my name is Jason Hasty. I'm coming to you today from Calgary, Alberta. I'm originally from Saskatchewan. I got my master's in professional accounting from the University of Saskatchewan, and I'm also a CPA CA. I got my CA designation way back in 2001, so over 20 years of preparing tax returns. A little bit about today's webinar. Our webinar is going to run from 1:30 to 3:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. For myself, that's 11:30 to 1:30, so a couple hours. We're going to be taking a couple of breaks today, around 10 minutes, to kind of give you a chance to stretch your legs, maybe use the washroom. And today we will have one hands-on assignment, as we always do with these ProTax webinars. Hopefully you can dive right in and get your hands dirty or hands wet on the assignment. Also want to mention about the ProTax training guide. If you have not received the materials in your email, the materials will also be posted in the chat window today. So you should be able to download them from the chat window. That'll be the ProTax training guide. Huge help and useful source of information that you can access today and download for yourself to use with ProTax as you continue to use it in the future. And just note, if you have questions with today's webinar, please post them in the Q&A area. We have a number of awesome Intuit folk that are helping out and assisting with answering your questions today. So as I speak, if you think of a question, just feel free to post it in the Q&A, and one of the Intuit people will answer that for you. I will also try to review them as well to give you some assistance there, and hopefully some live answers. At the end, I'm going to try and look through some of them as well. And if there are kind of common questions that a few of you have asked, then I will try and answer those in the webinar as well. Okay, so today's course is eligible for up to two, not six, 2 CPD credits. You should have your credits mailed to you as a CPD certificates from Intuit within 1 week of attending today's class. So if you don't get them within 1 week, please reach out to Intuit and let them know that you have not received your CPD certificates. Very valuable to those of us in our profession to have those CPD credits. So you'll get 2 for today's session. I'll mention again that later in the webinar, but I am doing a follow-up session to this. Today is the introduction to ProTax T1, to personal tax returns. I will be doing a webinar on February 2nd, and that's the advanced ProTax T1. So that'll continue on, and I will be talking a little bit more about that later. Disclaimer for today's information: all information in this webinar is for educational and informational purposes only. It is not legal or tax advice on any opinions or specific matters that I talk about today. This webinar, its contents, and presenter are not to be relied upon for tax treatment of items reflected on tax returns. All right, so what are we going to be talking about today? Well, first we're going to start off with cloud. I noticed there's already a question about cloud accounting and how safe cloud accounting is from Nazir. So we'll be talking about that specifically to start off with. Then we'll be going through an introduction of ProTax. Some things like, what are the advantages? Why would you want to use ProTax over, well, specifically, we're going to be talking about cloud versus desktop type software. Give you an indication of how to buy it and a promotion that is actually running right now with ProTax if you purchase it, the tax years that ProTax covers as well. Then we will be heading into some setup and navigation of ProTax, and really, really importantly, how do you get help when you need help when you are working with ProTax? Intuit has put a lot into their help resources, so they take that very seriously and want to provide as much help to you as they can. Then we will be looking at importing T1 files. So whether you're using another piece of software and you want to import those into ProTax, how do you do that? And then we will actually have our little part where we're going to be doing the basic T1 ourselves. That'll be our own work that we're going to be working on, our hands-on assignment today. Okay, so let's dive right in. Why cloud? And as I said, Nazir, I see you've already asked that question. How safe is cloud? What kind, what is working in the cloud? And I can truly attest to cloud-based software. I am now a full convert to cloud-based software. When I first got my taste of QuickBooks Online, which was probably about 5 years ago, I had used QuickBooks Desktop for many, many years, probably 20 years. And it was a bit of an adjustment. I was skeptical at the start, but I truly am a full cloud convert now. We'll be talking about safety and security and stuff with the cloud to start off with. So really, how safe and secure is your data with ProTax? Well, ProTax has the latest encryption standards, bank level encryption. So you can be assured that your software, your tax returns, your client's tax returns are safe with ProTax. I often give the example of, using desktop type software, and then you have a USB key that you're using. Well, you happen to leave that USB key, that data stick somewhere, or, if your office gets broken into, things like that. There's a lot of safety and security around that. Intuit obviously has high level encryption. Their servers are located in Canada and the US. There's more details on their website if you need servers located in specific areas, such as Canadian tax returns in Canada, things like that. But paramount is their security and their encryption standards. Another really great advantage about cloud is the automatic storage and backup of your data. So, corrupted drives, lost data sticks, things like that. Those are in the past when you're using cloud-based software. Everything is automatically backed up, the same as it is with QuickBooks Online. ProTax returns are automatically backed up, and they are stored on the Intuit servers. Another really great advantage of cloud, something that is really good for us, maybe sometimes not as good for us, is the 24/7 access. So now we have the ability, I consider it an advantage for sure, to be able to access tax returns from anywhere in the world, from any device, as long as you have a web browser that can access the internet. So you need the internet access as well as the web browser, and then you can review, file, do everything with your ProTax returns from any device anywhere in the world. Easy collaboration, that's probably one of, obviously there's lots of these cloud advantages in working with software, but collaboration, I think, is something that has really kind of sprung forward with cloud-based software. So ProTax, when you purchase a ProTax license, that gives you and anyone in your firm who you authorize to be able to work on client tax returns. So not only working on them, there are different ways in ProTax that you can communicate with one another, leaving notes, uploading files, things like that. So very easy to collaborate when you are doing these tax returns. And then future ready. So no longer do you have to do updates on your software, whether it be fixes that need to be applied, patches, things like that, as well as changes to tax legislation. So when the CRA brings out new tax legislation, those are incorporated, any of those changes are incorporated directly into ProTax. So you don't need to do anything about that. As a firm, we had used Profile for many years. This is our first year that we are jumping in fully and actually using ProTax for all of our tax returns, just to show you my belief in the product as well. And with Profile, we used to get updates that were needed constantly on improvements, patches to their software, things like that. With ProTax, all of that happens in the background. So you think the amount of time that you would spend or that your IT department would spend on things like that, all of that is reduced because it is all future ready with ProTax. Okay. So today's webinar, again, is Introduction to ProTax. So let's take a look around and see what we can find out about ProTax. I talked about cloud-based advantages. So if we're using ProTax specifically, what are some of the advantages here? I already talked kind of about, never needing to install, update, or manage your apps or your client data. So that's a really important one. Again, saving time for you and your IT department and not having to apply any patches or installs or updates to the ProTax software. Your client data is safe and it's all managed through the ProTax web portal. Really important, the Intuit tax engine that has powered Profile for, oh boy, I think it's since the 1980s or the 1990s, I believe. I knew the date at one point when Profile came out. That same tax engine is what powers ProTax as well. So anything that if you're used to using Profile and you've built a trust with Profile and you depend on it, it is that same tax engine that has powered millions of returns. You can quickly toggle between your client file and your tax return. That is really, especially advantageous when you are in the ProTax T2 environment, or if you are in the ProTax T1 environment where your client has self-employment income. So really easy to manage QuickBooks Online and to toggle into your tax return. We will talk a little bit more about that in the advanced session that I'm teaching on February 2nd. And finally, there are many ProTax advantages, but the last one that we're going to cover today is that it works on both PC and Mac. So gone are the days if you have a Macintosh, a Mac-based system, and weren't able to access proper tax software. Now it does not matter if you are operating on a Mac or a PC. As long as you have that web browser and an internet connection, you can access ProTax. Okay, so what tax years does ProTax cover? In the November sessions, December sessions, I taught the ProTax T2 sessions. So those were the ones for corporate tax returns, the T2s. Those cover from 2015 to 2022. Obviously, will be updated now for 2023 for any client year ends that end in 2023. Then for ProTax T1, Intuit has just released the 2022 module. So you can file all the way back to 2018 and now as far forward as 2022. The CRA is opening up their portal on February 20th. So after February 20th, we will have the ability to electronically file 2022 T1 personal tax returns. And I will be talking about that a little bit later as well. Purchasing ProTax. So how do you purchase ProTax? Well, the ProTax environment or module lives directly in QuickBooks Online Accountant. So you have to have a QBOA account set up, which is absolutely free to set up. It is a great system itself. That's where you manage any clients that are working on QuickBooks Online. You manage that through your QBOA account. You can also have your own companies or firms' books managed for free using QBOA. And then it is your full client database. So you can use QBOA for clients that are on QuickBooks Online and clients that are not on QuickBooks Online. And a really important thing to note is that if you are using ProTax, you do not have to have that client on QuickBooks Online to file tax returns using ProTax. The way you access it is when you are in your QBOA account. If you can see on the left-hand side of your screen, the screenshot there with the bar under QB Accountant, there is a tab there for ProTax. So once you click on ProTax, that will give you access to your T1, your T2, and now the T3 modules or environments of ProTax. T3 has been recently added, so you have the ability to file trust returns as well. For ProTax T1, the cost per year, it's an annual subscription, and it is $500 per year. That includes unlimited T1 returns and e-filing. That, again, note for both the T1 and T2 and T3 environments, anyone in your firm has the ability to file and prepare tax returns using ProTax. So that $500 per year is unlimited tax returns, and it's available to anyone with your ProTax license. That does renew annually, and it is an auto renewal. For those of you who are new to using ProTax this year, really important distinction. There is a promotion which has been extended to March 31st of this year. You can get a $100 dining gift card for subscribing to ProTax. So that's for new customers only, and that promotion goes until March 31st. Okay, so for ProTax T2, I'll highlight it, touch on it a little bit. Same thing, it gives you unlimited T2 corporate tax returns, same as T1, and its cost is $800 per year. For ProTax T3, the cost for that is $435 per year. Okay, I mentioned that ProTax is constantly evolving and updating. Those updates happen seamlessly in the background. You don't need to update yourself. Things that come along with those updates are the ProTax release notes. So I would highly encourage you to take a look at these release notes. There are multiple releases throughout the year that happen. So it's always a good thing to visit once in a while to see what is the latest update or what are the latest releases in ProTax, and it covers T1, T2, and T3. The place that you access that, when you are in the ProTax environment, the ProTax module, that's again where you access it through QBOA and you click on ProTax. Then at the top right of your screen, you will see the What's New section. Next to that is the tax settings section, which we will be talking about today as well. So the What's New will take you to the ProTax release notes. And it's a web page that Intuit is designed with all of the updates. The latest updates that we have currently are December 19th. Something super cool and new is the T1 invoicing. So if you are invoicing clients through your QBOA environment, you now also have the ability to invoice them as part of that, part of the T1 module. So something really new and exciting, as excited as we can get about tax, right? Okay, so introduction to ProTax T1, getting help. Obviously, with any new product and any product that you've been using and you need assistance for, it's always good to have really accessible help. And Intuit has designed accessing help for you in many easy ways through the ProTax module and through QBOA. So it is the same as you would access anything through QBOA. You have the help section at the top, which very different are different ways that you can access help through chat, through phone, all the different resources through the FAQs. That is at the top of your screen. So if you're used to accessing that through your QBOA environment, that is available to you through the ProTax environment as well. And more specifically, if you want the ProTax help, once you are in the environment, this screenshot shows us working in a client's tax return. At the bottom right-hand side, you will see there is a little blue bubble with ProTax help. And I will be showing you that a little bit later in today's webinar as well. Some other resources, videos. Videos are everywhere nowadays, training videos. Who hasn't Googled a video of how to do something to fix something in your house? I know I've done that many, many times. So videos, having somebody actually take you and walk you through it makes things much easier, sometimes easier to understand than reading. So Intuit has designed and developed different videos to assist you with ProTax as well. If you have a mobile smart device and you want to take your camera and focus on the QR code here, that will bring you directly to this website for getting help and accessing the videos available to you. These videos are very short in length, so they don't take a lot of time, and they're specific to your needs and what you are looking to learn with ProTax. Some of them, how to buy ProTax. Obviously, I talked about that today. Really importantly, how to bring in data, and we will be talking about the importing part as well. How to create coupled returns. I will be talking about that as well in the advanced session on February 2nd. E-filing, very, very important to today's world, makes it super efficient and really effective when you are completing clients' tax returns, as well as other videos. And the longest video that you can see here is 12 minutes, with the shortest being just under 2 minutes. So really easy to use videos and don't take up a lot of your time, but they're full of information. Some additional resources. So there's a ProTax forms list that will list all of the forms that are available to you through ProTax. A couple of years ago, when ProTax was more in development, we had less of the forms available, and then you could create more complex tax returns through ProTax. In today's world, ProTax has almost every single form available to you, as you would see in a tax return. I know that in Quebec, they are working on more and more of the modules for Quebec and for French tax returns as well. But if you want a full list of these forms, you can go to the ProTax forms list, which is available on the Intuit website as well. Included in the help, I talked about FAQs. Obviously, it's really good to have some resources there. ProTax FAQs, a ton of frequently asked questions that you can access there. And then the events and webinars calendar. Often when I'm teaching a webinar, I have people asking me, where can I sign up for that webinar? How do I access that? Well, that's through the events and webinars screen, and I will take you through that later as well. It is also accessible through the Intuit website. Okay, so some additional resources. I just like to highlight the ProTax CRA resources. ProTax, their resources aren't only on how to prepare tax returns and how to work within the ProTax environment. There's also a lot of really useful CRA information. So there's a CRA T1 guide, a lot of very useful information that you can access in the ProTax resource environment as well. So just wanted to point that out, and you can access all of that through the Getting Help area as well. Something that is fairly newly launched, and again, very exciting, something that was probably a missing link before, and very, 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 very needed, definitely, is an onboarding call. So now with ProTax, you can get a free 30-minute onboarding call. Including if you are on a free trial of ProTax, you can talk to an Intuit expert. They will help you get set up on ProTax. I've seen a couple questions come through about migrating files, importing files. We will be talking a little bit about that today as well, but you can get help directly from Intuit on this free call as well, migrating your files into ProTax as well. So just to book a call, you just need to click on the green button from that website. Okay, so setting things up, introduction to ProTax T1, kind of give you a brief introduction to the module and the tax settings area that I talked about. That's the one that's next to the Getting Help section, the What's New section on ProTax. So this is what our e-file tab looked like last year in ProTax. We had 3 different tabs. There was the e-file, the print, and the letters. And I'll be going through that with you today. This is what it looks like now. So obviously, constantly evolving with ProTax. The Prepare Info tab, and I'll be talking about the importance of the Prepare Info tab this year, as well as the T3 transmission tab. So we have that tab added as well, with the ability to file T3 returns. Something that I want to mention, and I think is really important, every year you have to renew your e-file credibility with the CRA. So you first register as an e-filer, that would be your first year. And then after that, annually, you have to re-register. I did my re-registration in November before the CRA was even very busy with tax season, and it still took 30 days. So I say, either register if you haven't registered as an e-filer, register now. If you need to update your annual filing, also do that now before you get really busy with tax season, because you don't want to be stuck in a situation where you need to file a client's tax return and your e-file authorization has expired with the CRA. The CRA is also including a lot of different changes and a lot of requirements for security reasons. Something that is new this year is when you register as an e-filer, you also have to provide your rep ID. So again, another important part of registering with the government, with the CRA, is getting a rep ID. As you register for an e-filer this year, they are now asking for a rep ID, which is new from previous years. As part of that, Intuit has built it into its ProTax environment under the Prepare section. So that is where you can enter your rep ID. If you have a group ID as well, you can enter that. Some of you will use your business number as your rep ID, as your authorized rep with the CRA. So that's where you can enter that as well. Talking a little bit more about the represent a client or your rep ID. On October the 17th of last year, 2022, the CRA issued a new mandate requiring any missing information from reps. So previously, they, I guess, had maybe missed collecting information from reps, and now your account could potentially be locked if they are still missing that information and they have not gotten that update from you as well. We have seen instances of reps needing to have a new code sent to them from the CRA via snail mail. So again, another reason to be proactive in getting your code sent to you, or making sure that your rep ID information is current and accurate. I also heard about a 4-year expiry. Don't quote me on this. We've had a couple people with rep IDs that have expired, which I'd never seen before with a CRA. I actually called the CRA myself and spoke with them, and the agent that I spoke with didn't have an idea on it. So they couldn't find anything in their resources, but I've also heard from others that there is talk of this 4-year expiry. So the important thing here being is to check your rep ID online for the last updated note, so that you can ensure that it doesn't expire on you. And again, you're in that situation where you're trying to request information, trying to do things like autofill a client's tax return, which we will talk about in the advanced section on February 2nd. Some screenshots I took from the CRA that I find important. We've introduced a new way to authorize a representative, which again, they're saying is going to help their clients, protects tax information, of course. And more frequently, the CRA is driving you to that, you're driving your clients, driving individuals and authorized owners of businesses or authorized users to the My Business account or the My account. So becoming rep IDs and having also My account and My Business accounts set up. So I would, highly advise your clients, get them onto the My account or the My Business account. It also makes things a lot easier for you. If they need to change rep IDs, if they need to authorize you as their rep, is much easier to do through their portal on the My account or My Business account. Something else important to note is, confirming a representative using these accounts. I've kind of highlighted this in red at the bottom. And the CRA is recommending, once registered, to enable email notifications to make sure that you are notified when you receive a new authorization request. So something, again, that the CRA is adding in there to try and drive us all to their My account and My Business accounts. Really important to note, obviously, ProTax is an e-file certified tax software. So it's compliant with the CRA, and we're ahead of the game there, or ahead of the ball there with the CRA. Okay, so the T3 transmission tab. The CRA needs this information for your T3 slip and T3 return transformation. This info that you enter in here will then appear automatically in all your tax return and slip transmission files. So just another one of those tabs that ProTax has added in to make things much easier for you. Okay, again, in the tax settings, the next tab is your print tab. From the print tab, you can print anything you really need to, T1, T2, T3 returns. And importantly, you can create print sets. So, a different print set that you want to give to your clients. You can change print order by dragging and dropping each of the forms up and down in the list. So really, really easy to manage and create specific print sets that you or your firm wants to use specifically for different situations. And then finally, on the tax settings tab, we have the letters tab. In the T2 sessions that I spoke at, we talked a lot about the letters and customizing the letters. We are going to touch on those as well in these T1 sessions. So a really, really easy way to create letters for your clients using the information that you already have in your QBOA customer database. So it allows those letters to go out to your clients in a very easy format and a predetermined or predefined format to save you time. A little introduction here to the letters tab and how it works. This is a screenshot of editing. Again, when you are engaging a client, you definitely want to make sure that you send out an engagement letter. So that is a really important part of the process in being a tax preparer with your client, outlining, the services that you're going to be providing and the expectations. So the expectations that you have, and it also outlines the expectations for your client. So having that engagement letter with your client, really, really important and very easy to do through the letters tab. On this screenshot, we can name our letter, so our template that's going to go out. Intuit also includes some templates that are not customizable. And once you enter the letters tab area, you'll see all of the different ones that are included from Intuit, as well as some letters that you can customize. So this is an example of a customizable letter. You can give it a title. And then if you look in the middle section here, we see just general word processing type format with data fields. So very easy to navigate and to use. On the right-hand side are the different data fields that you have in your QBOA, in your ProTax environment. This is the information that is pulling directly from Intuit or from the clients, from your clients' files, and then it will insert that into the letter that you send out to your client. So just like any other data type field, it inserts that information for you. Very easy to drag and drop the fields throughout your letter to add additional text. Anything that you see that is not in one of those gray or green or blue boxes, that is information that you just type in and will be common to every single client that you send out there and won't change as a data field as their specific data changes. Something else that I like to point out as far as a navigation thing in Intuit, I say take a screenshot of this. Make sure you keep this handy because this really gives you an indication of the different text fields or the fields that are in your ProTax environment and the different color codings that are highlighted throughout ProTax to give you an idea of the data that is there. When we are carrying forward files, tax returns, those fields will be marked with purple so that you know that that's a carry forward amount from a previous tax return. So that's purple. Anything that is in red is an overridden field. And that is something that if you are used to working with something like Profile in cloud-based, browser-based format, we don't have the ability currently to right-click on any field and override it or remove overrides on those fields. Those fields are highlighted in red. If you take a look down below where I have the reminder, this is how we delete an overridden cell. So you must clear the contents of the cell and then click out or tab out of that cell. So if you have a cell that is calculated or a cell that is overridden and you want to remove that override on that cell, you have to just remove what is in that cell, highlight and delete that, and then tab out, and then it will return to its previously calculated amount. So really important to note because you can't do that right click. And then blue is any of those cells that are calculated using the ProTax engine. So those are the three different colors that you may see as you navigate through the ProTax environment. And that is the same with T1 and T2. Another thing that I like to point out is the go-to source. So if you see one of those little arrows, kind of the right hand and then upward arrow, that is a really easy way to jump to the source information. So if there's a calculated cell, as we can see here, marked in blue in ProTax, if you need to jump to the source where ProTax is pulling that information from, very easy to just click on that little arrow. And then once you are at the source at the top right, you will be able to click back. So it'll return you back to the same area you came from. So really, some really handy or really easy ways to navigate through ProTax. Okay, so we are going to take a 10-minute break. Get up and stretch your legs. Maybe at this time, I encourage you to open up QBOA and take a brief look at ProTax. We will be jumping into ProTax as well, and we will be looking next at importing T1 files. So let's take a quick 10-minute break, and I'll see you here in 10 minutes.
Hold on to me as we go, as we roll down this unfamiliar road. And although this wave is stringing us along, just know you're not alone, 'cause I'm gonna make this place your home. Settle down, it'll all be clear. Don't pay no mind to the demons, they fill you with fear. The trouble, it might drag you down. You get lost, you can always be found. Just know you're not alone, 'cause I'm gonna make this place your home.
All right. Welcome back, everybody. Hopefully everyone had a chance to stretch and to navigate into ProTax. If you have QBOA already, I'll start off right now showing you a screenshot, actually going into ProTax, sorry, not a screenshot. This is live. This is the ProTax environment showing the T1, the T2, and the T3 modules. And starting your first tax return for free. So very easy to do that. Access to resources through free webinars as well. I talked about the what's new section. So that's in the top right. As you click onto that, that brings you right to the ProTax release notes that I discussed when we started today. So the latest of that being the December 19th release notes. And again, I encourage you to head to this page. It has a lot of very useful information on the ProTax updates. Here we're looking at the climate action incentive, invoicing clients through T1 ProTax, some Ontario tax credits available, things like that. So that covers the T1, T2, and T3 parts of ProTax. And then again, the tax settings area on your top right hand. That's those tabs that I spoke about with e-file, your preparer info, T3 transmission, printing, different print sets that you can create, and then letters as well, the customizable letters. And we will be jumping into letters directly in a client's tax return a little bit later, but just wanted to kind of show you the area for letters and give you a little quick live demo of letters here. So here is a client letter. Notice that Intuit has provided all of these different templates. On some of them, we are able to click down and customize them for our own use. This client letter being one of those. If we click into it, we can see the different areas that open up to us that I showed you in that screenshot prior, with the different tabs that you can drag and drop to wherever you want to within the letter itself. I was going to show you also on the tax settings, I think in the letters area, the top right, if you click watch a tutorial, it also gives you a demo. So there's a lot of different ways that you can access help in the ProTax environment. This being one of them, a little video that shows you how to do client letters. So, obviously having those resources easily accessible to you will make it easier for you to work within the ProTax environment. And then also, I want to mention the feedback loop here to give Intuit feedback on your own experience with ProTax. They look at each and every single piece of feedback that they get, and that really helps them make improvements and changes to ProTax that make things easier for you as a tax preparer. So really important to leave feedback as well. Also wanted to highlight here, I talked a little bit about the CRA's opening up 2022 tax year season. The filing and payment deadline talks about it being opened on February 20th of this year. And then the deadline this year for tax returns is, of course, April 30th, unless you're self-employed. Because April 30th falls on a Sunday this year, tax returns are actually due on May 1st. So we have an extra day this year to prepare our clients' tax returns. A couple other accesses, a couple other resources that I had talked about, accessing those directly through QuickBooks, through their Learn and Support channels. And then that other one that I talked about with the events calendar. You can easily take down this website directly if you want to go to it. It's just quickbooks.intuit.com, the same place that you would log in, but then it's /CA for Canada. You always want to make sure you're in the Canadian environment when you're accessing the help. So it's /CA for the Canadian environment, /accountants, and then /events. So it's not a super complicated URL to use. Just highlighting here today's webinar shown on the 11th. Then there's a peer-to-peer ProTax Conversations that is available tomorrow. And that is hosted by the amazing Cheryl Manmahan. So for those of you that haven't met Cheryl, she is an incredible person, wants to be as helpful as possible. So she is leading this session tomorrow on peer-to-peer ProTax conversations. So you can just click on that link and then register now for that session, as well as any other upcoming sessions that are hosted in the Intuit environment. So again, that's quickbooks.intuit.com/ca/accountants/events. You can also access that through your Intuit resources if you find it easier to do so that way. Okay, so let's jump into importing T1 files. Actually, just before I do that, I looked through a bunch of the Q&A that I had seen with those of you that have provided questions, and Intuit has provided the answers, but a couple of them that I thought I would note on the importing. This relates to this section as well. Again, remember that 30-minute free session is available to you. So if you're working in different tax software preparation programs, you have access to that 30-minute session for free on how you can import those into ProTax. Nate had asked about the auditor. So yes, I talked about ProTax having the same tax engine that Profile uses that has powered millions of tax returns. The auditor, if you're used to the auditor in Profile, it is the same auditor in ProTax. So that's one thing that I actually really love that they've carried over to the ProTax environment. A couple of you had asked about bundling. QuickBooks does not, or Intuit does not bundle the T1 and T2 subscriptions. So you can subscribe at different times of the year for the T1 and the T2. So you don't have to pay for them both at the same time. There is no bundling price on that though. So they are priced separately. And then again, for those of you that are new users, there is that dining card available for all provinces. It's a multiple restaurants that you can use it from. You have to be a first-time user, and that expires March 31st. So those were some of the common questions that I had seen. I see Faisal's asking for that link again on the new events. Maybe if you could share that with them, somebody from Intuit, that would be great. If we can share that so that everybody can have that link as well. Okay, so let's jump into importing T1 files. Okay, so to import T1 files into ProTax, you have to be in the ProTax environment. So in your QBOA, clicking on ProTax, head over to the T1 tab there at the top, and then you will notice two different bubbles. One is green, one is white. The white one says import returns. So this is where you can directly import tax returns into ProTax. Because Intuit has Profile, which is their desktop-based tax preparation software, that allows you to import Profile returns very, very easily into ProTax. You can also carry forward tax returns from Tax Cycle. So that's another tax software preparation piece that you can carry forward tax returns into ProTax, as well as some of the others that you can do. And actually, one of the screens that I'd highlighted in the ProTax resources a couple of minutes ago gives you additional help into carrying forward returns from other software. And again, remember, we have that 30-minute onboarding session that you can book with Intuit that is absolutely free. Okay, so if we're going to import some returns, let's take a look at importing from Profile. Once you click that tab, that little drop on the drop down, you will see this screen presented to you. And you can select your files to import. Something that's really important to note, that you can actually import up to 50 returns at once. So if you have prepared a lot of T1s for your clients in a Profile environment and you need to import those, you can bulk import them 50 returns at a time. And again, that supports tax years 2018 through 2022. One thing to note as well is the maximum file size cannot exceed 20 megabytes, which I cannot imagine would be an issue for most tax returns. One thing that was really handy with Profile and that is being carried into the ProTax environment is the ability to attach documents as well. So that attaching documents to your tax returns may increase the file size, but very, I don't think I have ever seen one that is over 20 megabytes. So once you see this screen, you can either drag and drop from your Windows Explorer or from your Mac Explorer directly onto this window, and it will set up these returns for importing, or you can click on the Browse for Returns button, and that will take you into a screen that will look something like this. This looks like it's in the Macintosh environment. So if you've got a Mac operating system, this is what it'll look like. In Windows Explorer, it is almost identical. This is where you can select multiple tax returns to import. So import multiple ones at once. I'm not sure about the Mac environment, but in Windows, if you hold down the Control key and select each one, or the Shift key and select the first one and then the last one that you want to import, this is where you can do your bulk imports. Once you have selected the returns to import, you will see the ones that have been uploaded. So that will upload into the ProTax environment, and that will show on your screen here. After that, really important and really handy is the ability to match the returns to a client. So if you have that client in your QBOA database, you can match those returns directly to that client. So, again, having QBOA as your customer database makes it really easy, especially when you're using tax returns in the ProTax environment. And I encourage you to make sure that you match all of these up to a client so that you can easily access them from that client area. You can also name your returns as well. So, if your firm has conventional naming rights or certain restrictions on what they want tax returns to be named, I would encourage having something like that. But do note that this is free. You get free to name as you'd like. And I always say keep it as something that's relevant, that will jog your memory when you see the named return as well. Something else to note here is that if you have spousal returns, we'll be talking about those in the advanced section. Note that some of these returns here are spousal returns, so they are showing in the uploaded returns section, which is really handy. Okay, and then the last step is just the processing of these returns and importing them and finalizing them. Once they are all uploaded, you will receive a confirmation screen that says your returns are ready to go, and then you can hop directly into the ProTax environment to start working on or carrying forward those returns. Okay. So this is what the ProTax environment looks like. This is the client manager within ProTax. And this is basically a listing of all of the tax returns that you are preparing in ProTax. Here specifically, it is the T1 area. And we're going to go through the different areas and the filtering that you can do through this area. If you're preparing hundreds of returns and you need to easily find a tax return, this is where you can filter them out. So number one, you can see the bubble there shows which module you're working with. Are you working with T2, T1, or T3? In today's case, we are working with T1s, so it'll be all of your T1 personal tax returns. Then you can search by client name. So if you want to go directly to a client and you know client name, you can easily search through that by clicking on the little bubble number 2. You can also filter by tax year. So if you just want to show the ones that tax returns that you've prepared in 2020, for example, or 2021, your last year's the tax returns from last year, then you can filter those and just have those ones display. Something really cool, you can also filter by tax status. So if you are working on a number of returns or a number of returns at your firm are being worked on, you can look at what is in progress, what have been accepted. So if those tax returns have been e-filed, what have been accepted. Also importantly, what have not been accepted. So if you have rejected returns from the CRA that have been e-filed, you can look at those ones and use the auditor, which I'll be talking about as well, to correct maybe the deficiencies in those tax returns so that they are e-file eligible and are accepted by the CRA. And then also you can archive returns, so you can access those archived returns. Number 5, the bubble, the green bubble next to your import returns bubble, that is where you create a new tax return. So a couple of things to note here, or a couple options to note. This is your T1 personal or your T1 self-employed. So the T1 module of ProTax also allows you to prepare self-employed tax returns, which we'll be talking about in the advanced session on February 2nd. So you do have the ability very easily to prepare those self-employed returns. And if that client is a QBO client, a QuickBooks Online client, and you have them in your QBOA, you also can import and work through work papers on the T2125 schedule, which is the self-employment, the business activities schedule. So very easy to use ProTax if you have a client that is in QBO as well, and moving that data or that information from QBO into ProTax. Working on existing files. So if you can take a look at bubble number 6, there you have the options to work with working on existing files and things like authorize a representative, things like that. So very easy to access from that area as well. And then finally, number 7, if you are looking at a specific tax return, you can view that return, you can duplicate it. So if you're looking at different scenarios, for example, or if you have another reason to duplicate a tax return, you can do that directly from a drop down based on that client on that row. You can also rename the returns, as I talked about, naming tax returns to something that either your firm has a convention naming for or something that makes a lot of sense to you as well. You can also start T3 returns from this drop down. Note that there is no ability to delete a tax return from this area. So that's something that is important to note. If you were thinking, why can I not delete a tax return? It doesn't allow me with this drop down. To delete a tax return, you actually have to be in the tax return itself and access the delete from there. So you can't just accidentally delete a tax return from this main area. Okay, so importing and carrying forward. Again, here we have the bulk actions that we can work with. Carry forward returns here on the drop down that you see on the left-hand side. If your files were imported from Profile, if they were prior year files and you have to carry them forward, this is where you can do them in the bulk actions. So it makes it really easy to carry forward files from a bulk standpoint there in the bulk actions drop down there. And also, please note that importing is not the same as carrying forward. So when you import a return from Profile, that is importing the return that has been prepared in Profile. It is not the same as carrying forward that file. So if you had a tax file that was a 2021 tax file that was prepared in Profile, you can import that same tax return into Profile, and then you can carry it forward to the 2022 tax year. Again, to note, the carrying forward from other suppliers into ProTax. This gives a different list of other supplier software and how you can navigate or do that, that carry forward. So different than ProTax Profile, where you can import the return and then carry them forward. The other software, you can carry forward the already prepared returns from a previous year. So again, utilize that 30-minute free onboarding session with ProTax Help. This also gives you, this is just a screenshot of the top part of it, but this gives you an idea of how to import into ProTax from other software. Okay, so let's hop in and work at creating or looking at how we create a new tax return in ProTax. So to start a new tax return, that green bubble that I'd mentioned with the create new return, and you have the two options, the T1 personal and the T1 self-employed. To create a new standard non-self-employed tax return, you click on the drop down where it says create new return and then say T1 personal. What will then pop up is a dialog box to create a new T1 return. This is where you start off by entering the tax year, again from 2018 to 2022. And this is where you select your client that you are going to prepare the tax return from. So there may be an existing client that you have, you can select that client, or if it is a brand new client, you can also add the client from this window in the familiar QBOA environment with the add client. In the advanced section, we'll also be talking about linking a spouse return, which is very important if you want to optimize your tax credits, among other things. So very important to link that spouse and very easy to do it directly from creating a new tax return. And then again, naming the tax return. So naming it to a convention that makes sense or that your firm uses that is easy to recognize. Once you are in the return, once you've created it, then you will be presented with the window on the left. At the very top of the tax return, that will have the tax client's name on there. If they have a linked spouse, you will see that there. Note in blue where it says link spouse or dependent. So you can also link dependents as well. So you have the ability to do that right there. Note that we are working in the T1 environment, and then that this is a 2021 tax return. So it talks about, or it displays that there, so it's very easy to see. Some other important things, the go-to, the search bar, and I'll be talking about that, a very handy and very easy to use search bar where you can access forms and questions on the tax returns. Some good information noted at the top as well. Taxable amount of income for that client, any balance owing or any refund due to that client, and their e-file status. So you want to ensure that they are eligible for e-file, clearing all items that you need to clear to make them eligible before attempting to e-file for that client. And then the documents feature here, which is really important to use and handy to use when you need to attach documents to a tax return. Here we are looking at, on the right-hand side, the letter of engagement. So the letters part is directly in your client's tax return as well. And this is where the letters tab comes in handy. So again, I talked about the engagement letter, very important to send an engagement letter to each client to outline the expectations, what you will be doing for the client, and really helps with misunderstandings that could occur in the future, really kind of helping to minimize those. So very important to send out engagement letters. Also, you can do the same thing with the CRA consent form. So as part of the forms, this is where you can print forms or letters. So if you are authorizing a representative, if you are looking to get that authorization, you can authorize a representative first by printing out the form. Make sure that you get your client's signature on that and head to the CRA's website for current what's the word I'm looking for? Current indication of what the CRA will accept in terms of digital signatures versus actual signatures. So really important to look at that. With the COVID-19 pandemic, the CRA updated a lot of their rules up on digital signatures. So, but most important is ensuring that you get your client's signature before you are filing the authorize a representative with the CRA. So I'm not sure what the penalties are, but I can imagine authorizing unaccessed or unauthorized client information is definitely not good. So that is where you can print out the form, and then once you have that signed form, you can click in the e-file area, which is that green button, and say authorize a representative. Note that you can also cancel a representative from this area. So if there is cancellation for representatives, that is accessed from this area as well. Once you click on that authorize a representative, you will see something that looks like the screen on the right. This is where you enter the information to print off the form and then to accept and transmit that. So here, obviously, we're saying we want to authorize a representative. This is where we use our rep ID, our group ID, or our business number that we have registered with the CRA, and then the level of authorization. So if you are a rep for that client, if you are an external party, you're the accountant or tax preparer, tax filer, you will have options of level 1 or level 2 with the CRA. Level 1 is just disclosing information. Level 2 will actually allow you to request changes or to change things. Level 3, there is a level 3. So if you are, for example, an employee of an organization, you can be level 3, owner of an organization, an employee, then you can actually authorize other representatives for that organization. And is there an authorization expiry date, et cetera, et cetera. So that's under the e-file menu. So if you kind of think about it, anything that relates to filing or e-filing can be found under the e-file method. So that's the authorize a representative. That's the T1 general itself. If you want to e-file that T1 to the CRA after getting the signed T183 form from your client. Also, you can view the electronic notice of assessment. So that's an option to you as well. We'll talk about that in the advanced session. Once you click on the authorization, you will see your CRA login. This is where you enter your user ID and password, and then that will give you access to your client's information. So being an authorized rep, really very handy. You don't have to call in or have your client call in or have your client look for information that's pertinent that the CRA has. Having that representation, you can look at your client's T4 slips, T5s, that the CRA has in their database that have been submitted to them. So really, really important to become an authorized representative. In our advanced session, we will be talking about autofill my tax return. So that is another step that really helps you complete tax returns very easily with the CRA, with ProTax to be able to transmit to the CRA. Okay, so a basic tax return, some more navigation that we're going to look at. When we are in the tax return, I talked about it showing the name, the tax year, and a T1, as well as the different options available to you. So I briefly mentioned the quick bar or the search bar that is at the top left there. Really easy to access information through there. Once you start typing in that window, you will have all the forms that you need. If you need to access a form, if you have some questions on a T1, you can search all of that through the navigator or through the quick bar on the top left. And note that if you can also use it to jump to forms that are already included in your specific client's tax return. So once if a form is available but not added, you will see the ability to add that form in the search bar. If it is already in the tax return, then it will show the ability to jump directly to that tax return. The attached documents function I talked about, the live auditor I haven't mentioned yet. So there was a question from Nate about the auditor. So ProTax uses the same auditor that the Profile tax engine, that the Intuit tax engine uses. What the live auditor does is it allows you to see information immediately after you enter it into a field. So for example, on the right-hand side, we can see, that'll be the next screen. I'll talk about it. Jump to there. We can see if we have entered an incorrect social insurance number, there is an algorithm for social insurance numbers. If you are entering an incorrect social insurance number and you are using the live auditor, you will see something that looks like on the right, highlighted in yellow, it'll say the taxpayer's social insurance number is invalid. So immediately having the live auditor enabled will show this information kind of as you go or as you prepare the tax return. So really, really handy and really helpful to see that live as you go. Not necessary for you to have the live auditor attached. You will still have access to the auditor, and we'll jump into that. As you can see, there is the forms and then the auditor button on the kind of towards the top left. And here we see that there's 33 different notifications from our auditor that we need to fix on the tax return. So the live auditor is just using the auditor itself and presenting the information live to you for items that need to be changed, any erroneous or empty fields, things like that. And then quick mode is a new feature to the ProTax environment. If you want to speed up your work in a way that reduces your bandwidth, your Wi-Fi usage, your internet usage, you can turn on the quick mode. I think I would turn it on all the time. I have not seen any reason to not have the quick mode on. It reduces the bandwidth usage and ensures quicker processing of your return as you go along in ProTax. Okay, so we are going to have our hands-on assignment today. And what we're going to be doing is we are going to be doing a tax return from scratch. And we will be doing it using the T1 Express data entry. This is an awesome feature that's available in ProTax. For any of your clients that have very easy tax returns to prepare, you can do it through the T1 Express data entry. And what it is it's basically just a single worksheet that contains most of the popular T1 forms and schedules. You don't have to navigate between forms when you're inputting data. So if you even have a more complicated tax return, but you want to start with all of the simple information and the most common information in a really easy environment using just this single worksheet, you can do that using the T1 Express option. And that's available in the forms section. It's right at the top there for you, as you can see in highlighted tab number 1 there. Some of the things that it'll give you access to, the info tab, you have the e-filing tab, as well as the most popular forms, your T4s, RRSP, donations, medical expenses, things like that. So it makes it very easy to enter information into the tax return using the T1 Express data entry. Okay, so the quick bar again, the search bar that you can utilize. Once you start typing in that, dialog box will pop up, something that looks like the one on the right. As I talked about, it's very easy to search information here. So if you're looking for something to do with investment forms, and you can't remember, I can't remember that it's called the T5. You just can type in investment, and it'll provide all the forms that you can add to this specific client's tax return. Again, if it's already a form that's been added, it will show at the top that it already shows in your client's tax return, as well as showing on the left-hand bar as part of the included forms that are already included in your client's, in the specific client's tax return. And just note that there are obviously some of the forms that are included with every tax return. You will see the T1 Express, you will see the T1, things like that that are automatically included with every new tax client file that you open up within ProTax. Some more navigation on the form side of things, on the auditor's side of things. So we had talked about the audit, the live auditor, and having that enabled. That is coming from your main auditor, which is located next to the form section. Once you click on that, you will be given a list of all of the different issues, warnings, sign-offs, and overrides. So this is your auditor saying, oh, we see something in the tax return that you may want to address or that needs to be corrected, things like that, things of that nature. For example, here, issues, the entry at field 26600 for your foreign income reporting, where you have to answer the yes or no to foreign income, that has not been answered. So that is a standard answer that is needed to ensure that you're e-file compliant and you're eligible to e-file the tax return with the CRA. So these are things, issues that the auditor points out. When you click on that issue, it'll bring you directly to the area that issue needs to be addressed. So very easy to navigate through the auditor and just highlighting the different fields that need to be addressed when you are preparing a tax return. The overrides, I talked about overriding a cell, and if you need to clear a cell that's been overridden, to highlight the contents of that cell and then hit delete and then tab out or click out of that cell. Any overrides will also appear in the auditor as well. So that's a very handy feature to have. When you are looking at a tax return, your data input is on the left-hand side, and that's where you're putting in all of the data relating to the client's tax return. If you want to see what the tax return looks like, you just simply click on the PDF form version, and it'll give you what the return will actually look like. So, things you may want to, print off that return for your client to review, or, have somebody review it in your office or your firm. This is where you can do it from here. So you can print off those returns. You can print them electronically as a PDF, or you can view them as well. So that's just in the PDF form. For those of you who are potentially nerds like myself, WYSIWYG, what you see is what you get. We used to use that terminology a lot, especially when it came to the early Microsoft DOS and Windows days. So what you see is what you get. That is what that PDF form shows. That's what the actual return will look like. Again, from return actions, that's where you can print the return or the letter. If you are sending things like your T183 to your client as well, that is where you can print off those forms to have your client sign, and really easy to do that through the return action, print the form or letter. As noted on the right-hand side here, something that I encourage every PDF or every email that goes out to be protected. So very easy to password protect your PDFs through the ProTax module on the printing the forms or letters. Very easy to password protect them. You just enter the password and then click download PDF. It will then download to your computer, which you can then email to your client, knowing that that information is protected and it's not a PDF that if it's intercepted, that anybody can access your client's information from that. You do have the ability to skip the password protection when downloading a PDF, but I advise against that. unless that document is sitting within your own system and you're not emailing that out. Once you are emailing out any kind of forms, email is a very insecure method of sending information. So I always advise to protect those PDFs. And then e-filing, as I talked about e-filing that tax return, the T1 General is where you want to e-file from, and that allows you to very, very easily e-file a client's tax return with the CRA. And once you click on the T1 General for e-filing, that will give you the ability to accept and file the return with the CRA and submit it as well. Okay, so we're going to take a quick 10-minute break again. What I'd advise you now is to make sure that you have the working example that we're going to be using downloaded from the chat window. That will be the information that we're going to be using to enter our first tax return on ProTax. So make sure you have that downloaded, make sure you have your ProTax fired up so that we can create our own T1 personal tax return. And I will see you in 10 minutes. All right, we're back for our last 10 minutes here. So I've talked quite a bit, so I'm going to try and take you through the scenario of creating your own T1. Hopefully, those of you who have loaded your ProTax have been able to navigate toward the creating your first T1. I just wanted to mention as well, again, with the training materials, you've got the Working with ProTax attendee booklet that you can download with the link that Intuit has given to you or has been emailed to you, as well as the sample exercises. In the advanced session, we will be also doing another scenario. Today's scenario is creating a basic T1, and we'll be preparing a T1 for an Ontario client, single taxpayer, which is the T4 RSP contribution, some medical expenses, and some donation receipts, some charitable receipts. So a very simple T1, and we're actually going to be using the T1 Express. So that's a really easy way to prepare the T1 for our tax client. So to navigate to that, we're going to go into ProTax. Make sure you're in your QBOA accountant. Somebody asked in the questions, if you have QBOA, do you have ProTax? And yes, if you have QBOA, QuickBooks Online Accountant, you will see ProTax appear as one of the line items on the left-hand side navigation bar. One other person asked, what is the difference between Profile and ProTax? They use exactly the same tax engine. They're both Intuit products. The main difference is that Profile is the desktop-based Windows-based software that you install on your computer, whereas ProTax is the cloud-based version of Profile. And they're virtually the same. They use the same tax engine. The layout is different. Profile has the QuickBooks Online feel to it, so it is the cloud-based system, which I talked about before as well. So thanks for all those questions. And let's jump into our first tax return. So once we click on ProTax, if you are new to the ProTax environment, make sure you are in T1. Click on Start Your First Return for Free. Today's return, we are creating a 2021 tax return. So get your information up and we will go from there. I'm going to drag it over to my other screen so that I can enter as I go. So we will create our new tax return. If you have other returns, you would use the create a new tax return bubble, like I explained previously. You will see the same dialog box pop up. So we are doing 2021 for this client. This client, we're going to add as a new client, or we can select a client as well. So if we want to do Ricky Navani, that's our client there. Let me just see, why is it bringing me into this window? It should normally pop up all of our clients here. I'm just going to refresh my screen. If you ever run into a web-based problem, and not specific to ProTax, but any web-based problem, you can always refresh your screen, and usually that will solve the problem. Sometimes, yeah, there we go. There's our clients. So I just clicked on refresh. That will refresh the screen and re-link your URL. If for some reason you're continually experiencing problems, you can also create, it depends on the web browser, but an incognito window or a private window. What that does is that opens that screen without any previous cookies that you may have installed or any cache that your browser has used. It's like it makes your computer load it freshly from the internet. So sometimes that could be a problem as well. So here we're going to name this new client Ricky Navani. Now, Intuit also always wants an email address for a client. So you want to make sure to have that. That will enable the communications part with your client as well. In the advanced session, we'll be talking about linking a spouse. Here's where we can name the return that we're creating, and then we just click continue. ProTax then works at creating the return for us with the list of forms in the return that are included with every return, as you can see on the left. Today, we'll be using the T1 Express. We have our client info, our T183, the T1 general form, et cetera, et cetera. Any new forms that you add, you can click on the add there. You can also go into your navigator and add the forms from there. Remember, we had that investment one from before to add the T5. You can do it from there. So very easy to jump in and navigate and add forms from there. Okay, as I talked about, we'll be using the T1 Express. This is that single page worksheet that I mentioned that has the info on your client, has your T4, T3, T5 slips, medical expenses, donations, T5008, 5008, RSPs, things like that, dependents. So that's where we will enter the information from today. If you click on your booklet, your sample exercises, this is where I'm pulling this information from. So Ricky's social insurance number is 323-333-327. I've entered 300. What we'll see is it will pop up if we have the live auditor enabled. It will pop up as part of the live auditor corrections that need to be made. So I won't wait for that to pop up right now, but just note that that is part of the live auditor environment. Ricky's birth date is 1909, September 9th. Ricky is single. And note that you can tab through these fields if you want to, or you can click into each of them. Doesn't matter. Once you tab over or you click out of a tab, it will then make sure that that is filled out as that field. Okay, Ricky is a resident of Ontario. Street address is 2020 Smith Street. City's Anytown. Postal code is M4A 1A1 and Ontario. Now, Canadian citizen. Yes, Ricky is a Canadian citizen. Foreign property, Elections Canada, e-file. We want to fill all of that out as well. So we go into our e-file section. Foreign property is no. We don't have any self-employment for Ricky, so we don't have to worry about filling that out. Yes, we want to e-file this return. Note that you can also do amended returns using the T1 refile service here. Really important to note as well, and a very handy part of being able to e-file tax returns. Our language of correspondence is English. The client is the contact pre and post assessment. What else do we have here? The ENOA, I talked about the electronic notice of assessment. That's another important option to clients. We won't go into that today due to time. CRA online mail, and I think I filled out everything else. So let's jump into the T4 slip. So there's our Ontario, and this is why it makes it really easy through the T1 Express, is it has the most common fields of the forms. You can enter up to T3 slips here. If you need to delve further into the details in the slips, if you have additional boxes, you can just click on the view details and that will take you to the slip. Employment income, 95, oops, sorry. I need to jump to the next screen for that. On our sample exercise, so $84,880 of employment income. CPP contributions, $31,645. Our EI contributions, $889.54. And notice that blue highlighted, that means that that's a calculated cell by the ProTax engine, as I talked about before. Blue means calculated. Income tax deducted, $17,990.01. And note as I go that this information updates at the top, shows the balance owing, the taxable income of the client, as well as that e-file status. No T3 slips, no T5 slips. We do have some medical expenses with our client, just for the ease of time today. I will just enter them as one. Total amount. Donations, we have a donation here as well from Parkinson Canada. The amount of that donation is $100. One thing I always mention when I am teaching preparers of tax returns, make sure that the donation slip is the current year. That gets missed a lot of times. And just looking to see if I missed anything. Yes, the RRSPs. So we have our RRSP deduction limit that we can enter, and then any RRSPs that we slips that we have as well. To enter the deduction limit, this is from the 2020 notice of assessment or reassessment, and that's $9,500. So that's how easy it is to enter a T1 from the T1 Express module. I know that we are out of time, but I will just take you back to the sample exercise and the solution to scenario 1. So you can access that in your sample exercise. So thank you so much to everyone who's attended today's session. There were a lot of questions. I see 124 answered questions that thanks to the Intuit team for answering those. Thank you so much for attending. Our next session again is February 2nd. So hope to see you there and have a good rest of your day. Happy New Year.